In Disco Elysium, at the start of the game, you wake up drunk out of your mind, not knowing anything about where you are or even who you are. You wake up with, and I quote, rigor mortis on your face and a smile that no matter what just doesn't go away, like a grin that has been carved into your face. When I played Disco Elysium for the very first time, waking up in a hotel and for the very first 30 minutes of the game, just exploring this very small hotel with very few characters, with the game bombarding you with information that doesn't make sense to you or your character because your character doesn't remember anything, and also with these voices in your head that apparently talk to you, it's safe to say that I felt extremely overwhelmed. And I felt so overwhelmed that at one point I just wanted to put my controller down and just not play the game in its entirety. And then when I finally pushed through and I finally got out of the hotel, after which felt like endless talking to just a few characters, I got to hear this for the very first time. I will never forget it. I will never forget the moment when I first heard this music. I know this is gonna sound a bit cliche, but listening to this felt right. That overwhelming feeling and the game just bombarding you with all that information, it all just felt right. It felt like it was okay to be overwhelmed. It was okay because something great was gonna happen here, and I was gonna be a part of it. And I'll eventually understand everything. Disco Elysium at its surface is a buddy cop detective game with the trope of a depressed, drunk cop getting a case and a partner that will turn their life around. And admittedly, that's something we have seen many times. But if you decide to look just a bit deeper, it turns everything it is on its head. In the game, you don't really get any special abilities. You don't get any superpowers. In fact, throughout the playthrough, you are one of the most miserable, sad and depressed characters in the whole world around you. But what you do get is your own conscience. They can be your psyche traits, your physique traits, or maybe even your motor ability traits. How it works in the game is that you can invest your skill points on different traits of your own subconscious. Traits like suggestion, which, if upgraded, gives you the ability to come up with different, you guessed it, suggestions while you are going around the world. Or maybe it suggests you to talk to a person in a different way, or approach a situation in a different way.
Yes, it's merciful that way. It's your friend. Come back to it. We're all rooting for you too.
Or a trait like authority, which lets you easily dominate or intimidate another character. And throughout the game, the character's conscious constantly talks to him directly. But while playing it, on more than one occasion, you feel the voices talking to you, not the character, but you. They talk directly to you.
How have things been going for you out there? Helped anyone lately? Saved anyone lately? Murdered anyone lately?
When you first wake up in your apartment with all your memory wiped out, reeking of alcohol, the game reminds you of how miserable you are. Every step of the way, your conscience reminds you of how sad and depressed you are. And in places, these voices feel like they mock you. They make you feel bad Feel bad for not knowing what's happening as the player just as much as the character feels embarrassed and ashamed of where he has ended up in life. This sad and depressing hollow shell. The game mocks you for your ignorance. How dare you not know your name? How dare you play this game and not know anything?
Oh my God. You can't stop. It's like it's not even voluntary anymore. You have worn that grin into your face and now it won't come off.
Things in Disco Elysium just feel right. In the game, you explore this small district called Martinez of a city named Revachol, which has been set aside and forgotten. After going through many revolutions, the city is left in a state of hopelessness, with all of its people reflecting that feeling of fleeting hope, one way or the other, like a lorry driver just wanting to go home to see his kids, like a dice maker with her workshop in the middle of an abandoned commercial area, or like a fisherwoman trying her best to raise her kids after losing her husband to the sea. And it feels right for you to be in this city, because in more ways than one, you have been forgotten as well, not even by others, but mostly just yourself, because the people around you do still know you and how you were before. But in this city, everyone only knows you for what you have become, and you see your past self being forgotten, not only metaphorically, but quite literally, as you can't even remember anything about yourself anymore. And how can you hope for something you don't even remember?
All around you, rain falls on the great city of Revachol. Rain drips from the eaves and floods the gutters, washing the filth away. The spring thaw must be here. The snow is melting.
The city seems to hold you hostage to some extent, and it feels like the right place to be for you, because you can't be anywhere else, for who you have become only exists here. This game is filled with characters that you can have seemingly endless conversations with and know each little detail about who they are, what they do, hell, even their political views you can talk about in the dialogue. But weirdly, none of it feels more alive than the city itself. These characters just feel like a small extension to the city, just a small part of the story that this city holds. Throughout your time exploring this small little district, you come across many locations, like a harbor with a protest, a ruined and abandoned commercial district, a fishing market with nothing to offer anymore. But after some time playing the game, you come across a church. And the first time I came across the church and I decided to go in, the only word I managed to get out of my mouth was, I sat there looking at the mural in the church and listening to the music for 5 minutes in this trance. I experienced something I have never experienced in my entire life. A mind with nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. So far, how I have talked about the game, you're probably thinking that the game is this sad, depressing story following a sad and lonely character. But if you have played the game, you know that is not at all how the game is. In fact, it's one of the funniest and absurdly unserious games I have ever played. Disco Elysium likes to turn things on its head. Disco Elysium at its core is a story about self-discovery. It's like the game gives its main character a second chance to turn his life around, and in the complete irony of that situation, puts all the power for that second chance in the hands of the player. You discover stuff about the character throughout the game, how he is a drunk who has now lost all respect from his peers and people around him, and all the information comes new to both the character and you as the player, and you choose how you want to deal with it by choosing different traits of your character that you need to invest into. In this game, there is a trait called electrochemistry, which throughout the game tries to make you indulge in alcohol, smoking, and in turn, if you do it, rewards you with buffs, with increased intellect in some cases. And the game goes so far as to give you a quest right in the beginning of the game that literally says find a pack of cigarettes and smoke them, to make it seem like it's absolutely necessary for you to do so.
You should pick that fat, juicy cigarette butt from the tray, light it up, and smoke the living shit out of it.
And then you realize it's not about the character. The character can't see the quest menu. The character doesn't have a sheet of gamified tasks. Because it's about you. It was always about you. Ever since you clicked new game and chose a class for your character, every time you gain a skill point and decide to invest it in some trait of your choosing, you realize that you have been shaping the life of this character ever since you started playing. It's as much your story of rebuilding the character as much as it's the story of the character itself in its truest meaning. Every time you hear your conscious talk to you, it talks directly to you. Every time you fail a check for a trade that you don't have upgraded, the game locks that check out, almost like holding you accountable for spending your skills on the other traits. And unless you actively choose to upgrade the trait of your character, the game refuses to let you retry it, making you question every decision you make throughout the game and altering the way you experience the world entirely. I want you to play Disco Elysium. I want everyone to play Disco Elysium. When I first played this game, I was at a very low point in my life. And this game, no joke, actually changed my brain chemistry and influenced me in a way that only the best pieces of literature and art have ever done. I want you to play Disco Elysium because the way this game explores such heavy topics, I have never seen it done before. This year I read Albert Camus for the first time, and his notion of absurdity, which to be honest at the time when I read it, I didn't really understand. But this month, after replaying Disco Elysium, I decided to pick up the books again, The Myth of Sisyphus and The Stranger. Albert Camus writes, "The absurd hero's refusal to hope becomes his singular ability to live in the present with passion." And this game perfectly encapsulates that idea of absurdity in everything that it is. That energy of not caring and taking joy in the mere struggles of life is done so well in this narrative. It tackles a lot of heavy topics, but never once throughout takes itself serious. The fact that the character you play doesn't remember anything, but that serves as being better for him, since he is able to let go of any concept of embarrassment and being judged, like the time where he forces a hotel manager so he can sing a sad song on stage, which in most cases in the game, you are going to fail. But even still, after singing such a bad song, he gets on stage and sings his heart out. And not just that, this kind of stuff happens many more times in the game, and looking back on it, those little moments were some of my favorites throughout the game. Because the character has lost everything, his reputation, his dignity, his own self. And after experiencing the game in all of its absurdity and fun, it made me realize, when you already have nothing left, you can't lose nothing else. There is so much more that this game has to offer, and I can go on and on about it. Like the absolutely stunning art style, the amazing portraits of all the characters, and the depth behind them, the bone-chilling voice acting, the most perfect score to something I have ever heard, The list is longer than I can ever get through without making the video extremely long. Even though this game has an amazing community and a fairly large one too, I still believe that it doesn't have the fame that it deserves. Some part of me wants to gatekeep it, to not tell anyone about it, and replay it every once in a while. But ever since playing Disco Elysium, I have been like a broken record, recommending this game to everyone I can, because my love for the game surpasses my urge to gatekeep it. I want to tell everyone about this game, talk about it with them and dissect it, talking about it to anyone who would give me a chance. Like people talk about pieces of art, because this game is one of the best things I have ever experienced. There have been a lot of videos that have been written about this game, literal hours of content dissecting every little detail about the game by some great minds on the internet. And even though I might not have been able to do justice to Disco Elysium in this video, this is my small little love letter to the team and the game itself. And I just want to say, I want you to play Disco Elysium.